All right, so thanks everybody for joining us today. Sitting, well, not sitting next to me, but visually sitting next to me is Jason Steendalen from C4 Insurance. And we're going to be talking today about simplifying insurance. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that he's done for us to simplify things for us as well. But I wanted to start out just quickly, just for those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Jennifer Green. I am from Property House. We are located here in the Twin Cities Metro in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And mainly what we focus on is helping people out of more or less sticky real estate situations. If you inherit homes, if you go through a divorce and need to sell, a bankruptcy, foreclosure, inherit homes through probate, we're able to help. We offer cash or terms for your home, and we always close at the number that we say we're going to close with no contingencies. So if that sounds like something that you're looking for help on, please let us know. We're always here to help in any way that we can. My assistant Katie will post our information in the comments. And then also while Jason and I talk to, we'll be posting some information in there to get a hold of him as well. I did want to give a quick update just on a few articles that I came across in the last couple days on what's happening with the mortgage forbearance. These are also going to be posted on our website in our blog, so propertyhousepartners.com. You can check out our blog there, and these articles will be posted there. And I'm actually going to go a little bit more in depth next week on Tuesday and talk about what all of this means for folks, and kind of, you know, come back and start talking about some mortgage forbearance and deferments and what that could mean. So the first one was that more or less that there's some people right now that are mistakenly being put into forbearances because there's been so many calls that are going in. And a lot of the people on the phone are just assuming that people are asking for forbearances when in a sense, they're actually just asking what a forbearance could mean for them. And so unfortunately, people are being put in forbearances and then are actually not wanting to do that, and then are looking to refi their homes because the rates are so low and you can't when you've been put in a forbearance, at least usually for about a year. And so that's really kind of messing things up for people. So I'll talk about that a little bit next week too, and what that means on Tuesday. And then also there was another one too, that there was an article that came out that they're suspecting. Now, again, these are projections and I'm not a doomsday type person, but there have been projections that people going delinquent on their mortgages are going to far exceed the 2008 Great Recession. And so just something to keep in mind. It's a good article to read. Again, not trying to be doomsday here, but just really thinking about what all of this means. I know Minnesota's stay-at-home order is ending on the 18th. Does it mean that it's going to stay that way? I don't know. I mean, they're not opening everything up. It's a very, very slow progression, of which also too could go back the other way. So just something to think about. Right now, they're thinking about 15% or so of homeowners are going to be behind on their mortgage. And that, oh yeah, it's 15% of homeowners are right now like on a forbearance. They're projecting about 7.25% or 7.5% right now are in that forbearance. And if you include Ginnie Mae, so veteran DVAs or FHA loans, that puts it up to 11%. So again, Tuesday, I'll be talking about this a little bit more in depth. Just wanted to give you folks a little bit of an update. Okay, so hi, Jason, how are you?
I'm good, Jen. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like I said in the beginning, I'm super excited to have Jason here. I actually met Jason at the Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association here in the Twin Cities. Gosh, I don't know, maybe over was it what, like 4 or 5 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, it was before the holidays, I think. So probably 6 months, 7 months ago.
Okay. It's hard to tell what time is now since it's Groundhog Day every day.
I know.
But nonetheless, I met Jason there. He actually does some of the insurance for some other fellow investors that I know quite well. And it was super exciting to have him there because not only is, some insurance is something that touches everybody, and, you know, whether it's home, auto, life, business, life, any of that kind of stuff, but especially for folks who are in the investment sphere, it's really important to make sure that you have the right kind of coverage. And, you know, there's certain, I guess, insurance agencies a lot of us have gone through, and just doing a comparison in what they charge versus what Jason charges. And then also just the usability of it, the easy button, more or less, is kind of what I feel like when I do our insurance with you. And so I'm going to let Jason just introduce himself a little bit, and then we're just going to have a really, I don't know, I think cool discussion on, you know, ways to make your business better, or make, you know, home, auto, life insurance a lot easier for people. So Jason, go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Did you want me to actually answer some of the questions that you
No,
accept?
let's
Okay.
wait till we get through that. Maybe just like a little introduction of C4 and,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, like Jen said, I'm Jason Steendown with C4 Insurance. Um, C4 Insurance was founded in 2017. I've been in insurance since 2004. I started working with some of the larger firms in my area and just didn't agree with kind of how they approach things, and a lot of the larger insurance firms or agencies, if your policy's worth enough, then they treat you well. But if for these small and medium-sized businesses, they just kind of got left behind, and they were looked at as a number and kind of a nuisance. And for most of my clients, that's kind of where they were left. And that just didn't sit well with me. I kind of live by the golden rule. I treat people how I want to be treated. So um, I started helping real estate investors almost 8 years ago, and developed a specific program for rehab properties, of which I was the only agent in the Midwest allowed to write that program. That carrier decided that they didn't really want to do that anymore. And so we had to kind of retool and find some different routes, which kind of brought us to where we are now. The cool thing with this is I started out with one real estate group, and as you guys know, the real estate investment community is pretty tight knit, and everybody knows everyone, and the word kind of spreads. So I started working with one group, and that's quickly morphed into a handful of groups, and now I work with property investors all over the country. So I get calls from all over the place, and so it's kind of unique for me. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you would kind of mention, you felt like some of those smaller, not necessarily like mom and pop shops, but smaller, small business that you feel like have been kind of left out in the dust. And so what would you say would be like one or two or even three advantages that you feel like you would have maybe over some of those, bigger insurance companies?
Well, I mean, I think there's some agents out there that do a really good job, and I think you need to work with agents that understand what you're doing. If you're writing a home and auto insurance policy, there's lots of agents that do a really good job doing that. But when it comes to property investments, especially vacant properties, rehabs, wholesales, all those different types of properties that you guys may be dealing with, they don't really understand that situation. And so what they're saying maybe is covered, most likely is not under a traditional, insurance company's homeowners policy. So they actually have vacancy provisions written right into the policy. So unless you're actually reading the policy and know that it's covered, I'm going to tell you that it's probably not. And so even though your agent may be telling you it is, that's the big difference, is make sure that you really understand what you're dealing with. The other things that set me apart is, like I said, I feel like lots of insurance agencies, unless you generate enough premium for them to make them consider you worthwhile or serviceable, I feel like a lot of these clients that have questions or, maybe don't have a large premium volume, they don't get handled with the same level as someone that's generating thousands of dollars a year in premium or commissions, right, for the agent. And so the big thing is like I said earlier, I treat people how I want to be treated. If you're looking for an answer, I always try to get back to you as quickly as I can. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer, but I will get you the answer. I'm very upfront and honest, sometimes to a fault. I'll tell clients many times, your price is good, your coverage is good, maybe tweak this, but stay where you're at. And I earn a lot of business just by being honest with people and saying, hey, I think this looks okay, your price is good, just stay where you're at. If the price goes up or you're unhappy for another reason, then maybe give me another shot at it. Or I'll have people call me a year later and say, you quoted this last time, would you quote it again? And then sometimes I'll earn their business that way. So like for me, it's not about the sale. I'm very non-pushy. I'm just here to educate and help people. And that's really, I think, what sets me apart.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I felt that too, because I think a lot of the times when you perhaps maybe call into some of these other insurance companies, it's just like you said, you're like a number, you're kind of going through the same questions. They don't necessarily know you. And like you said, yeah, like every time I've called you with a question or something, you've always gotten back to me in a timely manner. And, either called or emailed and did whatever you could. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. And I've felt that way. And that's why I, like I said, have chosen to go with you guys every time. Not only because you know exactly what you're talking about, but you also do what you say, which I think is great. The other thing I wanted to say, and you kind of talked about this a little bit too, is one of the biggest things I also noticed is obviously the premium cost, right? I mean, and there's even, other folks here in the metro area that have gone with you too, because the premiums are, I don't know, anywhere between 40 to 50% less than some of those other bigger companies.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's obviously a huge, huge savings. So what is it about C4 that allows for that difference?
So, I mean, that's a great question. I think people a lot of times get hung up in the cost, right? And it's always good to try and save money or not overspend for insurance, but not at the expense of coverage, right? So, it's great to get a good deal, but make sure that the coverage is proper, first, then let's worry about the pricing. Fortunately, when people are dealing with vacant properties, there aren't a lot of carriers that offer coverage the right way for those types of properties. So fortunately, I guess, however it came to be, right, I represent the company that's endorsed by the National RIA, right? And so I'm the only agent in the Midwest that is a local representative for them, and I provide access to their system, but help people because their communication isn't quite what I would expect it to be. So a lot of people reach out to me when they have questions or problems, and I'm kind of that intermediary there. So I guess the big thing is are we always cheaper? Not necessarily. I would say in the Midwest, definitely. I haven't found anything that's offers the same level of coverage for the same premium. But I have run up against some stuff down in like the coastal states, Florida, some California stuff where the premium is closer. We may even be a little bit higher. So it just kind of depends on each situation.
Okay. So, I mean, kind of on that same vibe there, I mean, you're obviously based out of Wisconsin, right? And then now you're talking about Florida, Midwest. Are you guys able to do insurance, everywhere? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So we're an independent agency. We represent multiple insurance carriers. And depending on what line of insurance we're talking about, we're licensed in multiple states. For all intensive purposes, for investment properties, rentals, this vacant property insurance, we can write that in 48 contiguous states, right? So that's why I'm able to offer that all over the country. I have property owners that may live in Wisconsin or the Midwest, but then they've got properties in other states and they just want help with that and they just want to go through one place. So we're able to offer that. When it comes to business insurance or home and auto insurance, depending on what carriers we represent and what states that they're appointed in or able to write business in, that will determine whether or not we can write other lines of business in those states specifically, right? So right now we do a lot of business in Wisconsin, obviously, Illinois, Minnesota. We're licensed in Florida for like snowbirds and stuff like that. So it just kind of depends. We have some larger clients that buy large multi-unit properties all over the place, right? So it could be 140 units all in one location. And if it makes sense for us to get licensed with a particular state, we'll look into that. But the policy has to generate enough commissions to offset our cost to be licensed in that state. So depending on what's available, we'll look at getting licensed in other states, but we don't just do that without having any business there typically.
Okay. So, then kind of on that same wavelength, talking about providing insurance for, investment purposes and, you talked to about home, auto, business, life, all of that stuff. What would you say is like the vision more or less then for C4 in terms of that, expansion? Because obviously I assume the majority of what you guys do at the moment is, property investments. And correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
What does that look like, for if somebody who's watching right now is like, well, I don't invest in properties. I just have a personal property. I have a business or, home, auto. What does that look like for you guys?
So I think for me, what's important is I had personal lines clients that started getting into investment properties. And that's where this whole thing started, almost 8 years ago. getting involved with these investment properties and vacant properties. And so we are primarily a home and auto and business insurance agency. We write more property insurance as a percentage of our business probably than most agencies, just because, we've an established kind of this niche and kind of recognition for what we do, right? So people recognize us for that. We do that in hopes of being able to be that one-stop shop for our clients. So whether they've got, an investment property or they just have questions on their home and auto, we're trying to be that resource for them regardless of what they're looking for. Is that the case for every single client? No. I mean, we have clients that we only do investment properties for. We have clients where we just do their personal insurance, and maybe we only do their business insurance. It just it depends. But a lot of my clients look at me as a resource and ask me questions about all different kinds of things. And that's really what we want to be here for is, our service and advice is free, unfortunately, sometimes, but, some people can take advantage of that. But really that's my job, I think, and really what I enjoy about it is educating people. I feel like so many agents sell everybody the same policy, regardless of the needs of that client. And they're not asking the proper questions and finding out what the client really needs. They're just selling them the same policy that they sold to 100 people before them. And so I just feel like that's a huge disservice to people buying this stuff.
Yeah. I just had a question that came through in the comments, and they were asking, are you licensed in Michigan?
For home and auto or other lines, no. For investment properties and other things, rentals and investment properties, vacant properties, yes.
Okay.
Again, we've looked at Michigan because it's kind of one of those bordering states. We do get a call for that occasionally, but like I said, it has to make sense for us to pay the licensing fees and jump through the hoops to get licensed in particular states. Each state is different. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to actually touch upon is the user-friendly site that you have, the usability just of getting your own insurance. I mean, it's literally a click of a button and it's like, there it is. And you have an insurance binder, you're ready to go, and you don't even have to think about it. And then you go on and you can't, talk about that, because that for me was so huge.
Yeah.
That, we're just able to go on, pull your property, get the right insurance, and you're done in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
And I think it really depends on the client. I got to, give you a little recognition, Jen, because you've actually taken the time and the steps, and we walked through a few initially to get you up to speed and you felt comfortable with the system, right? But the advantage of this system is that for those people that are comfortable with it, you can quote and you can bind coverage, you can make mortgagee changes. All the payments are handled online, so people need to be aware of that. There are no invoices. It's monthly emails and reminders to make your payments, but everything is handled through a personalized web portal where you have access to all your policies. You can go in and print the certificates and all the stuff that you need right online. So I have clients that handle everything themselves and call me only when they have a problem or a question. I have clients that send me a worksheet with the property information where I get the policy set up, and then I email them the binder and instructions how to pay, and they just take care of that. And then, there's kind of some in between where, when the property sells, some people send me notifications, say, can you cancel this? And I'll take care of it. Otherwise, you can log in and cancel the policy yourself. So the nice thing about it is and to put it nicely, sometimes people are in a rush for things. And maybe they forgot about the insurance or they need it right now. And I may not be at a point where I can help them right now. It allows them the access to go in and get things set up and get it coverage bound if they need to, where they're not waiting on someone else, if they're at that point. So
I've never done that.
I'm not saying you have. I'm just saying in general.
I've totally done that. Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying in general, it happens more often than people think. And, I'll get calls from a client saying, I totally spaced it. I bought this property 3 days ago and I didn't insure it. So then we have to, then we're rushing to get something in. So it is what it is. But the flexibility, I think, and allowing people the option to do that if they want to,
Well, Yeah, I mean, we just closed on a property I think it was last week. And I mean, I remember sending you a message and saying, hey, do I just have to press the cancel button? That's it, right? And you said, yep. And then that was it. And it was done. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that piece of it is, and even maybe for people who aren't super computer savvy, it's a very easy portal, to use once, like I said, you do it a couple of times. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I love is just having that ease of not having to worry about it and saying, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing or not? And it's just all right there and it's very, very clear.
Well, and the nice thing too is if you do have questions, I can access everyone, all of my clients. I can go in and check their portal if they have a question on something. They want to see if they did something right. I can actually log in and see all that information. So that's why I can go in and write a policy under someone's portal for them, get it all bound up, and then if they can't pay for a week or whatever, it's in there, and whenever they're ready, they can go in and make that payment. So
awesome. So we're just about kind of out of time, but I wanted to just kind of pose a last question as, if somebody's shopping around for insurance, what do you think would be maybe the top 3 or 4 or 5 questions that they should ask that agent to make sure, that they're getting the right policy coverage or for, whatever, business, home, auto? I mean, and obviously that's kind of a loaded question, but, maybe general questions that they could ask.
I think a lot of people get kind of sedentary with their insurance, and they may have been with the same carrier for 20, 30, 40 years. We see that a lot, where, their parents had them, they continued with them, they've been with them ever since. It's always smart to kind of shop insurance 3 to 5 years or work with an independent agent that's gonna say, hey, this market is kind of trending at 5%. Your policy was up 12%. Maybe we should take a look at some other options. So we don't reshop everyone's insurance every year. If their increase is out of line for no reason that we can see, then we would maybe, depending on what percentage it's up, then we would, maybe suggest that we look at other carriers. Some people like to stay with the same carrier forever. The other issue I think I would point out is people really don't understand auto insurance liability. And if you're going to hurt somebody and have a drastic claim that could be financially altering for the rest of your life, possibly your family's lifetime, you need to make sure you understand the auto liability limits and how those pertain to protecting you and your business financially. On top of that, if you're using your personal vehicle for business use, like I would assume most investors are, you need to make sure that you're listing business use on your personal auto vehicle, especially if it's owned and insured in your personal name. Most insurance policies can exclude a claim if they find out it was for business use. Not that they would probably deny that claim, but they're probably going to non-renew or cancel you down the road. So doing things the right way is most important. Ask questions before it's a problem.
Awesome. Well, that was a big nugget right there. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of the times you expect that the person that you're talking to is just going to know and do it the right way, but we really have to do our homework. And I feel like that's something that you've always been super helpful with. And I didn't ever felt dumb asking you questions or going over things multiple times just to make sure that, we had the right coverage. So I want to thank you so much, for joining us today. You guys can see on Jason's background the way to get a hold of him. You can dial into their office, 608-640-6026. It's also going to be posted in the comments. And then also their website is c4ins.com. Please reach out to him. He is a wealth of knowledge, super friendly. Obviously he knows what he's talking about. And so thank you again for joining us, Jason. I really, really appreciate it. You made insurance fun.
Well, we try.
Okay.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah. So everybody else, I'm going to be back on Tuesday. Like I said, on the beginning, I was talking about the mortgage forbearance and what that means. And then I'm just going to expand on this stuff a little bit more because there's a lot of information, that just came out in the next couple of days. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be back at our latest project that we are working on and show you the updates. There's a lot of fun things that have happened there. So we'll see you guys on Tuesday at 2:00 again on my feed, Jennifer Green. And we'll see you then. Have a good weekend, everybody, and take care. We'll see you next week.